All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. Good to have everybody here. It's a lovely Tuesday evening. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Sheshen Lo, Shedadale Wow. All right. It's Tuesday, yeah, so that means that I'm not coming on camera, but I will please crave your indulgence to please power tap. All right, let's like the live, especially for those of us on TikTok, because this is where we're streaming from, and TikTok requires a lot of activity. So please power tap. Let's share the live. Let's try and get the likes up. Thank you very, very much. Today's session is actually inspired by a conversation I had with an elder a couple of days ago. He's one of Nigeria's politicians, and we're talking about some things that happened in the past. And then he mentioned something that I felt, it's important to actually set the record straight. But thankfully, we had a very fruitful conversation on that matter. And we also we've had a conversation on that topic as well. So we might as well just, listen to it together. So that's what we're going to do this evening, okay? Essentially, this video is actually a response to a statement that Sowore made a while back. And just to be clear, because when you put videos like this out, it's important to let people get things straight. There's a place of compassion, right? And there's a place for compassion, and there's a place. Then you have to know when your compassion is being weaponized and you are being taken for granted. I believe that Nigeria has a role to play in terms of ensuring that folks from the Southeast are properly rehabilitated. It's crazy that I'm still talking about rehabilitation in 2026, but I'm going to tell you this without any fear of contradiction. The reason we're having the conversation is not because Nigeria has not tried. It's because propaganda of the war has not stopped. And a lot of Nigerians have been hoodwinked and being blackmailed with all these things. See what we went through. But once you mention what they did to others, they begin to curse you out. Get better adjusted to the realities of Nigeria. I agree with all of that. What I don't agree with is being blackmailed, right, into apologizing for what neither myself nor my parents were responsible for. And this is the crazy part about what we're going through in Nigeria. You have people who did terrible things, but they've never been called to account. Like, nobody has really talked about what has happened. And then because you have been quiet, what then happens is that you are being told that you have to apologize for something. As a Nigerian, I hold no apologies to anybody. And that's not because I don't have compassion. It's because I have compassion, but I also have knowledge. So compassion makes me say, what do you need me to do to make you feel better? Not what do I need to take on as my responsibility based on what you want. Essentially, what it is this. There are things I'm going to do to make you feel better. But it's not like I owe you that thing. In other words, I can choose to do it or not to do it. That's one. Number two, I will still do it because I'm a good person. But here's the real issue. I don't owe you an apology because I did not cause you the problem. I can show compassion because that's what a good person would do. You will show compassion to people. But I'm not going to be blackmailed into apologizing for something that I'm not responsible for. And until Nigeria gets this, people keep manipulating us as a nation, or as a group, as a collective. Okay, so I just felt I should say that so that people actually understand that this is not about hating anyone or whatever. It's just to ensure that we're not being hoodwinked as a people. All right, thank you very much for listening to that. So we're going to have, like we always do, we're going to listen to the whole thing. I'm going to read the description, then we'll get into the conversation itself. All right. Again, if you're on TikTok, please power tap. I want to make sure that the live is kept alive, pun intended. So please like the live and share. If you're on YouTube, thank you for being here. Kindly like and share as well. Facebook as well, thank you very much. We're trying to reconnect our Twitter, and that'll get done in a bit. All right, let's get into this. If you're on TikTok, please click on the heart icon above my image there and kindly drop a heart to me, drop a gift. Let's try and push the live to the FYP together, okay? All right, so like I said, this video is a response to a statement that was made by Sowore, where he talked about the fact that if he became president, he would apologize to the Ibos. Number one, that's the reason some people will not become what they think they want, because you are going there to actually turn the entire country into a ball to be played around by one ethnic group. So that's nonsense. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read the description, then we'll get into the video, okay? Sowore's statement that Nigeria owes... Excuse me, please. 1 second. Let me try and connect TikTok. Sorry. Twitter. I wish I could play music, though. Just give me a second. I'm going to get this sorted. Please, let's keep our tapping. The numbers are low on YouTube. I think it's even good because it's important for us to get this thing up. Once the video starts, I won't be able to stop you, you know, or to stop to tell us to power tap. So please, let's do that now to make sure that we can keep the live going. I'm just going to wait for like 30 seconds and see how much we can get in terms of numbers of likes, and then we continue. So please, let's do that. Let's try and get this to 5K. All right. Okay. So it's going up, but it's still slow. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook and you're not used to this, what's happening is we're streaming primarily from TikTok. And I want to make sure that the app doesn't kick us out because it requires a lot of engagement, like likes and things like that. So that's what we're trying to do to make sure that we keep the live going, especially now that we're not coming on camera. So try and bear with us just a few more seconds. All right, I'm going to start by reading the description, then we'll listen to the recording together. Sowore's statement that Nigeria owes the Igbo an apology is a masterclass in political performance. He claims Nigeria has an Igbo problem, that the Southeast has been excluded, and that his first act as president will be to apologize. Apologize for what exactly? For history he clearly hasn't studied, or for the emotional blackmail we've been fed over the years? It's always the same script. Guilt-trip country, paint one group as eternal victims and hope no one remembers the full story. But history has no short memory, and we remember everyone's role. Plus, the ones demanding an apology might need to check their own chapters first. Sowore is chasing headlines, not truth. He's talking about effects when he clearly doesn't understand the causes. Before anyone starts handing out apologies, let's go back to the records and read who did what, when, and why. Nigeria doesn't owe the Ibos an apology. What Nigeria owes itself is honesty, the kind that makes people uncomfortable but sets the record straight. Here's Nigeria owes no apology to the Ibos. Please enjoy, and let's keep our tapping and liking the live as we listen. Thank you very much. To Bishop Matthew Asankuka. He was on Arise News some days ago, and he had this to say. Please take a listen.
The machinery had already been put in place. As a little kid, I remember You know, all we wanted to do was just to see what the Sardauna looked like. And in my little village, they were going around with these screens showing us all kinds of things. We had all the wonderful things. Then we had a bureaucracy that really was oblivious to some of the things that have now come to haunt us: ethnicity, religion, the hegemons, and so on and so forth. So we had everything we needed. And when people say to us about Nigeria, why are we not like Singapore? Why are we not like Japan? Well, truth of the matter is that we could have been better than Singapore. We could have been better than Malaysia. Could have literally been better than, no one would have seen our back had the military not struck.
Right.
Because we already had a bureaucracy. And the reason why Singapore is the way it is not because Lee Kuan Yew, yes, he did an extraordinary good job.
But it's that inherited bureaucracy.
He inherited bureaucracy.
Yes.
And the destruction of the bureaucracy, the destruction of society was escalated. Then ethnic identity and consciousness began to emerge. And I can tell you, most Northerners who are in their 70s and 80s still cannot come to terms with the brutal killing of the Sardauna and Tafawa Balewa. Unfortunately, we have a country that doesn't like to confront the truth. We often say as Africans, forgive and forget. And we bury the hatchet, but the handle is outside. So, in my view, up till today, we have not been able to have the time, the honesty, the sincerity to come to the table to say, look, what went wrong? And this is why what we have, the dreams of our fathers, or founding fathers, have now become nightmares for us. And we now ended up with a situation in which the recruitment process, whether it's for public life or the bureaucracy, all of those things came crashing. So I think we can say why we are where we are today.
The bishop mentioned that we usually have this thing where we just forgive and forget. Well, I'd like you to listen to something just to show you how terrible things can be, especially with those who, for some reason, think that they can lead the rest of us in Nigeria. I'm looking for the video. I'd like you to just take a listen to this and then we'll talk about it. This is Sowore. Take a listen, please.
If I were to be president of Nigeria today, the first thing I would do is to head to the Southeast and apologize to them for the war. Nigeria has a problem. And I've always said, Nigeria has an Igbo problem. And I'm not saying it to please people who are known as Ibos. But the moment they decided to take the action they took in 1967 to 1970, the war, Nigeria, having won that war in their eyes, never forgave the Ibos. There is a secret memo, I don't know where it is located, in government, that whenever we want to take charge in this country, be careful of the Igbo. Don't give them position. Don't give them opportunity. Otherwise, they will overrun. It's a well-known fact. Even our parents, wow, tell us, Igbo. You understand? Some of them even say unconsciously. They even say it on radio shows in this country. So don't let us lie to ourselves, because except we bring this out openly and discuss, it's a taboo that we have refused to discuss.
True.
We are not going to solve the problem. It is the reason why the federal government of Nigeria feels that in 2024, detaining Nnamdi Kanu against all the court orders, against all the court rulings, is the only way to go. You know, I was detained in the DSS place for 5 months.
Yes.
There is nothing there to detain anybody. The place is not even functioning. The DSS headquarters. Yes, is it the same DSS people who are watching BB Nigeria from morning to night?
That's a presidential candidate. You see, one of the things you don't want to ever have in life is to be half educated, because you're going to be left with the ability to speak English. And when you speak, it will be, you'll be correct grammatically, but you'll be spewing ignorance. Anybody who says they want to go to the Southeast to apologize to the Southeast, anybody that says that is a very ignorant person. I don't care that they are lecturing. I put this thing on. I responded to it, and someone told me that he thought that this person taught Nigeria. In fact, I don't want to misquote because it's just shocking. Someone said that the person actually taught a course in Nigeria, in the US or something. I'm like, I'll read the exchange before I say what I want to talk. So somebody quoted his video and says, this is Nope, It says, you see the Sowore's video, there's an element of truth in it, but apologizing is not the solution. Rather, it's the right political strategy and alignment. That's the only way the fear can go away and the trust can be regained. More so, there's need for a massive national reorientation on the unity and diversity. Alternatively, there should be national renegotiation of Nigeria as an indissoluble nation. Otherwise, producing a president from this region may never happen again. I then responded, there's no truth to it. I quoted it, said there's no truth to it. It's chasing effects instead of causes. Study the history closely and you see everyone played a role, but the one demanding reparations is actually the one that should be apologizing. Sowore and the rest of us really need to study. So somebody responded to me by saying Sowore taught pre- and post-colonial history in the US. He has to explain the statement he made. From what I'm learning following Sowore and reading you most set forth are done by Prof, I have come to understand a little bit more of the context of the Civil War. So I asked, he taught or he learned? Because if it's taught, in quote, then we truly have a serious problem as a people. When those meant to teach haven't learned enough themselves, yet presume to know enough to make such assertions. Here's the point. Anybody who discusses Nigeria's history and says he needs to apologize to the Igbo is an ignorant person. I don't care if they have taught Nigerian history or they have taught it in US or in Togo. It doesn't matter. The person is ignorant. You can acknowledge what has happened without missing the total context of the events. For instance, who is going to apologize to the people in the Midwest? Who will apologize to people in Ore? Who will go to Benue? Who will apologize to people in River State? The Abonemas, the people in Degema. Who will apologize to the BBO? The Ethics. Who will apologize to them? This thing where we have been so overwhelmed by victim narrative, a victim rhetoric, a single narrative, that we now think that because that person has said it again and again and again and again and again and again, that person must have been wronged. Therefore, we should help them. I know we do this thing where we like David and Goliath kind of thing, right? We always want to back the person who is like the underdog. So, who is the underdog? Let's back him. Just because the person is underdog doesn't mean that they have sense. You can be underdog because you're actually senseless. The idea that the East is right because they lost is senseless. Apologize for what? What should we say to the families that lost their to Yoruba people that lost their family members in Benin, or to Benin people themselves that died because people from the southeast went to their land? What should we say to the concentration camps that were built in Benin? Think about it. Somebody comes into your land, builds concentration camps in your land, and puts your people in there. Built the same thing in Umaya and took people from rivers into those places. Keep people en masse, and you had bodies floating on the rivers. You see, the thing is, Nigerians don't know. We know very little about what really happened in the past. Very little. A person leaves his place, says he's fighting for his region, decides to take other people's lands, and then decides to start encroaching and actually overrunning other people's regions and declaring governors in those regions and writing letters of what he would do in Yoruba land, in Western region, in Lagos, all over the country. And you should apologize. For what? It's because of our ignorance that leaders of the Ibos who say they want 10 trillion naira reparations. Who are they talking to? Their family members? If there's any group, I mean, with all due respect to the lives that were lost, because people died, and that is regrettable, and that's terrible. There is no way you can even politicize death. But if you are looking for reparations, the Igbo should be paying Nigeria reparations for many years to come. People were killed. Let me just please read from the minorities' perspective first. Let's even leave Yoruba people out of it, because we never know what we do. From September, you could they bomb Yoruba land. September, not throughout their life, just 5 minutes. Hopefully to help your brain. Here's the point. Since September of 66, Ojuku's boys started bombing Yoruba land. Bombed Lagos, Federal Palace Hotel, bombed Ore Bridge. This was 10 months before the war. There was no war until July 6, 1967. The man was bombing places in September of 66. The casino hotel they bombed in Yaba, the folks who died, the filling station they bombed that exploded and destroyed buildings and people lost their lives. How come nobody talks about these things? The Northerners who were killed in the east, how come nobody talks about the fact that 2,000 people were in a train journeying from the east to the north, and they were stopped by Biafran soldiers, by Ibos soldiers? There was no Biafra then, September of 66, they were stopped by Ibos soldiers. All the adult males in that train were killed and were thrown into the Imo River. Why doesn't anybody talk about this? All adult males. Some of the people were sold into slavery. If you think I'm lying, read the book by John de St. George, The Nigerian Civil War. Read the book by A.H.M. Green, Crisis and Conflict in Nigeria, Volume 2. People, and Volume 1 and Volume 2. Read those books. People were slaughtered. During the war that they're saying they should be looking for apology, rather, Adakiri, lepers were killed in Benin. Lepers. How do you go into people's territory and kill lepers? There's a river there called Osiomo River. On this side, you have the Ibos. On the other side, you have the Benin, the Yoruba, and other groups. These clowns went through the Igbo side, did nothing, crossed the river, routed lepers, a lepers colony, killed the Benin, Edo, and Yoruba people that they could find. Lepers. Did the same thing in Ugeli, Sapele, Wari, Bini, rounded up all the outsiders they could find, killed them. Why would you ask for apology after doing that? No, they killed your people. I mean, bad story. Again, I'm very careful when it comes to lives lost, because people died in the Southeast. And it's a terrible thing. But no, there's no apology for that. Not when you are trying to gaslight the entire country and say, oh, I was just sitting down, I just came and destroyed my people, I did not do anything, or just came to... You're lying. This is a situation. I mean, read the book by, what's this man's name? Ken Saro-Wiwa, On a Darkling Plain. Lecturers, professors were telling them why they should fight the war. I feel sorry for the common people in the Southeast, because they suffered on two fronts. Number one is like real suffering from the war. Number two is the psychological thing that has remained with them. And that psychological portion is actually worse than the events that happened. And the reason is because it's not that the psychological things came from psychological issues they're having, because they're still having it. It's not like it came from the war. It actually came from the propaganda of those who started the war. That propaganda thing is what is affecting the average person. That they will now say to the point where a person who is trying to become president is anybody that panders towards one ethnic group in Nigeria is not serious. You go and apologize. Apologize for what? For what? Like, I don't know. For what exactly? Oh, for people that died. Okay, so are you going to apologize for the Nigerians who also lost their lives? Are you going to, read the book by Nebo Graham Douglas. He talked about what happened in their area. How people were unalived by a church. 400 people were packed in that church, and that happened in two places. One in the Rivers area, the other one in Enoin Division. That Enoin Division, they talked about it in 1968 Addis Ababa conference. 400 people gathered into the church and they killed everybody. They burnt that place down with the people inside it. The Biafran Igbo guys did it. How come nobody talks about another, about almost 400 again in the Rivers area? You see that in the book by Nebo Graham Douglas. Put them inside one church, burnt the church down. Why do you think the people in Rivers behave the way they do? You think they're not human beings? They're just doing what they're doing. You don't know the history. How can you bomb 400 people inside one church? Not once. Went to a particular prayer group in Rivers State, said because those people were praying for Nigeria, destroyed the entire place where they were praying, chased people, killed the ones they could kill. Prayer houses. Then decided to ban praying, they call them praying houses in that area. By the way, if you go to that side of the country, you still see a lot of praying houses. Banned those praying houses because they were not praying for the success of the Biafran war for the Ojukwu site. Went to places in Port Harcourt that were owned by River people, Ibibio people, anybody that was not Igbo, burnt down those houses. Why do you think they came back and said they're going to have abandoned property? We cannot be listening to somebody who tells us that don't believe danger of single story, but the person is giving us one story and we are believing it and we are saying sorry. Sorry to who? Again, acknowledge the lives that were lost. It was terrible, but guess what? The person that should be apologizing is your man. Is the person that got you in trouble. I can empathize, and any sane person would empathize, because when you see pictures of children suffering from kwashiorkor, it's terrible. You have to acknowledge that. But I can't take responsibility for it. I can't apologize for that. I can't. It's even stupid to apologize for something like that, because what that means basically is that you have become a person who doesn't know anything about facts. You're just driven by emotions. And if a person can emotionally blackmail you once, you are done for. That's your life. And I've said it before, emotionally blackmailing people from the Southeast is not even because of the war. It's a strategy that has worked since the 1940s. Documented strategy, by the way, documented results. Whether from the British side or from the Igbo side, we have documented. If they do it this way, it makes people do what they want. That doesn't happen again. So that means you hate us. That's your business. Somebody says Akintola was in opposition and was killed. I still don't understand it. Meanwhile, they left theirs. That was even 1966 January. People were on. Guys, think about it. You have a coup. You kill every politician from everywhere or from your region. And the other region where you have your people leading, you didn't go there too. We had 5 capitals: Lagos, Ibadan, Kaduna, Benin, and Enugu. And one place of interest, Calabar, because that was where Papa was being held. Lagos, they kill people like crazy. Ibadan, the same thing. Kaduna, the same thing. Enugu was quiet. Benin was quiet. And the thing that both of them have in common is that they were being led by Igbo premiers. Calabar, as quiet as the streets. There's one street in my unit, very quiet. Staff quarters, very quiet. You'll be hearing birds chirping. Nothing. I was saying something about the kwashiorkor children. I'm going to go back to that. When you see images of those kwashiorkor children, those kids suffering from kwashiorkor, it should pain you if you're a human being. But if you make any decision based on that picture, you are not a thinking human being. When you see that picture, it should touch something in you. It should talk about your heart. You should feel somehow about, like, why would people be like this? But if you decide just because of that picture, you are not a thinking person. I don't care that you have lectured in Harvard, it doesn't matter. The question you should be asking is this: why did this happen, and how did this happen, and who is responsible for this? Not, oh, look at what they did to us. What did they do? I'm very careful because people died, so you have to be very. But think about it. Human suffering is crazy. Like, you have to. It's something that one has to be very careful. But let me say something. I, again, empathize with people that went through that, but the apologies are not mine to give. the people to be apologizing to those people are Ojukwu and the people that got them into that thing. Someone says, why? Number one, before the war, the East has always had issues with protein. Almost forever. The meals in the Southeast have almost always been deficient of protein. This is documented. If you want to go into it, when we have the time, we'll discuss it. I'm just responding to what Sowore said. They've always had issues with protein-rich food. Again, it's nature. Some things nature doesn't give you. And this is not. I'm not saying that it's their fault that they don't have it. It's just how it is, or how it was. So for fish, they depend on the rivers area. For beef, they depend on the northern part. That's Ogoja area. The food that the Southeast was eating, even before the war, most of it came from Ogoja. Which means that if you want to have war, since your surname is War, and they've begged you, they told you no fight, they had meetings, they had engagements, you went to Aburi. This thing is long. You went to Aburi, January 4, January 5, 1967. You went to Aburi. By March, the decree number 8 was promulgated. Your own people, Ojuku's people, said that decree number 8 contains 95%. One person, his name is N.U. Akpan, who was the secretary of the Eastern region. He said this stuff contains 95% of what we asked for in Aburi. As though that was not enough. Your own private secretary, that's Ojuku's private secretary, who also happens to be a lawyer, says that no, it's not even 95%, that thing contains 98% of the Aburi demands. The 95% claim, you find it in the book by N.U. Akpan, is called The Struggle for Secession. The 98%, you find it in the book by Ilarin Joku, The Tragedy Without Heroes. How can you have 95 to 98% of what you demanded in Aburi and you still say you won't fight? This was in March. And then by May, the federal government was still doing police action. In June, it declared Biafra. Federal government, Yakubu Gowon declared 12 states in May 27. He came along with Biafra May 30. There was no war. They were having police action. Let's just try and settle this thing. Until now, when they start bombing places in present-day Benue State. Waiting, Igbo man, they look for Inokene. Waiting, Igbo man, they look for in Benue. Say you carry gun, go there, go do waiting. Now, while all this was going on, you didn't have any plans for your people in terms of food. You did not know that you didn't have protein in your space. People that had kwashiorkor did not have kwashiorkor because there was no food. They had kwashiorkor because there was no protein-rich food. And that's one of the reasons Okoroko came into existence in Nigeria. In case you don't know, Okoroko came into Nigeria from Norway. That was their own aid that they supplied, stockfish, that the Norwegian government gave to folks in Biafra because, again, protein. So your question will be, okay, so how did they get protein before the war? I thought you would not ask. Two ways. Number one is that they, in fact, it is one way that had two sources. One way, importation. They always imported protein food into their space because even within the region, their own part of the region did not have those things. So when you're talking about, you don't have beans, you're not growing legumes, that will come from the north. You don't have fish, that will come from rivers. You don't have meat, that will come from Ogoja. So you are dependent on these places. So if you are going to say, I won't fight, I won't flex muscle. Awolowo traveled to Enugu May 6 and 7. The guy said, he won't fight, Isha won't fight. Since you want to fight so badly, how about find a way to ensure that your people the only thing that I think he did as far as protein was concerned is that he stole 400 pounds worth of granite from UAC. That's the only thing Ojukwu did as far as protein was concerned. He stole granite. The UAC, they are still looking for that granite, they've not found it. if you think I'm lying, please read the speech by Anthony Nauro in 1968, August 12, in Addis Ababa. That's the only protein arrangement that Ojukwu made. People didn't have those things. So before the war, you had to import. Then the question is, how do you get the money to import? Two ways. Number one, you imported based on the revenue that was coming to the government. But the question is this: where was the revenue coming from? Well, 64% of the agricultural revenue of the southeastern, of the eastern region, the entire eastern region, came from the minority areas, not from Igbo area. 64%. Which is why when we're going to declare their own nation, they didn't want an Igbo nation, he wanted a Biafra nation. Why? Because he needed the land in those other minority areas for two reasons. Number one, for residential purposes and building stuff. Number two, for agricultural purposes. You don't have those things. Then you now went to the rivers area. You have some food from there, you have oil there. So you have to take those places and have your own nation. You should be apologizing. The people where you disengage, where you kill for their own land, say they must be part of Biafra. Nobody has ever apologized to the southeastern minorities, the eastern minorities. Nobody. Everybody just busy pandering to a crybaby. What nonsense are we having in Nigeria? And this was supposed to be a presidential candidate. The first thing I would do, I'll go and apologize. Go now. Shebito Bate win. How do you build a nation when everybody just moved by emotion? Somebody just comes and says, oh, they did this to me. You didn't ask. Some of us are parents here. You know what happens to our kids, especially the youngest ones of them. You will just come and meet you and say, Dad, they did this to me. What do you do for the most? Don't you ask that? What did you do to your brother? Or what did you do to your sister? Just hey, what is Shama Malaysia? Last boss can be like that. Our mothers, oh boy. Oh boy, I just see Papa growing up. Our mothers with the babies. Open shop on me, let's say, me feel because last ones are really wrong. Last ones are really wrong. Sorry, there's a clown who is just busy writing nonsense in the comment section. Charlie, or what do you call yourself? This is your 1 second of fame, and it's over now. When people cry and say they did this to them, maybe you should ask questions. What did you do? And I've said it several times. The day the eastern minorities begin to speak, will betide the person who tells them to stop. Because you have not heard nothing from them. They've written those things in books. So, but who reads? All of where we are reading now, thank God. They've written those things in books. They've talked about it. They said their beat. Or put up another head. Every time they speak, they are told to shut up. They are told to shut up because national unity. Which kind of national unity makes one person the sole and perpetual victim of every story in Nigeria? Abba. I'll finish that thing on that Kwashoko thing. Two ways they were making the money. Number one, it was through revenue. Most of it was generated not by the Ibos, but by the eastern minorities. Number two, and this is where the Ibos actually tried. Number two was through, I always forget this word. What do we call this thing that we do when you're living abroad and you're sending money back home? Please help me. There's a word for it. Remittance. God bless you. Thank you very much. Remittance. The Igbo people outside the eastern region always sent money back home, which is beautiful, by the way. And that became a major way to import the protein. So here's the point. You have two sources. You have one source of protein importation. You have two sources of funds, revenue and remittances. You are supposed, you want to fight because you must fight. Okay, so what are you doing? What will you do now to ensure that this thing keeps flowing? And then you also have to plan that just in case Nigeria decides to block you, or they have this blockade set up, that it doesn't affect you. What are you going to do to make sure it doesn't affect you? Nothing. The people now start dying. They are sending food to you. You are diverting food meant for those people. The little protein that was meant for the people, you carried all the protein and gave it to your soldiers. Your soldiers were eating. The people were dying or were suffering from kwashiorkor. And I'm supposed to be the one to apologize. The person that was diverting, it was so bad that they curse out our Lord. They don't understand what this man did. The man went to Port Harcourt. He saw people. And then he asked the question, what is happening? They told him, the reason this is happening is because the food is being diverted by the soldiers. So the question is that who will go to the other side to make sure that the food actually gets to the people? Some of you have big English in your bios. But you see, just because you have big words doesn't mean you have brains to actually contemplate. Let me not talk. Let me just mute you. Where was I? You have to now think of how to ensure that the people at the other end are able to get the food that you are sending to them. The question is this: you had no plan to feed your soldiers. You had no plan to feed your people. You are now asking that the government that you are fighting, your enemy, should feed you. Then the enemy sends you food. You use it to feed only soldiers. And then your propagandists, e.g., Okokon Ndem, e.g., in fact, have you ever seen the video? I played this here before. Please, you can go on YouTube and look for the video. The video of surrender when Philip Effiong led Biafran officers to surrender to go on. To those people who look like they are hungry. If you need if you need empathy, I will, of course, there's compassion in my heart because I don't hate anybody. It's bad. But I cannot be sorry for it in terms of saying, well, I want to apologize on behalf of Nigeria for what? Our history will not talk about it. We'll be skirting around the issues. The one we're supposed to talk straight, will not talk straight. The one we're not supposed to talk straight, we could just undo that one and say, oh, we must fight, you must fight, you must fight. I just wanted to talk about that, that one that is quite crazy, though, because if you're going to lead the people, at least you know their history. To apologize. Well, I apologize now. Anyway, I don't even know if I finished answering the question. It's the story is complex, right? The story is complex, but there is no part of it. There is no part of that story that requires apology from the Nigerian government. None. None. The greatest thing that Nigerian government did, as far as that thing was concerned, even I feel is wrong. And it's one of the reasons we're where we are today. Is that declaration of no victor, no vanquished. It's a very, very wrong thing to do. But I understand why they had to do it at the time. You know, hindsight is 2020. I don't blame our leaders for doing it. I appreciate what, the predicament, but I wish they didn't do it. Never say no victor, no vanquished. Never. Never. There's a victor. There has to be. It's not maturity. It's danger for the next generation. You only do that when, let's say, for instance, amongst your peers. If something happens among your peers, maybe you might do it. But even then, you have to acknowledge who won and who lost. Why? Because you want to rub it in? No. Because if there's no victor and there's no vanquished, there will be a vacuum. And that vacuum will be filled by something. And it has been filled by something forever. And that word also begins with a V. It's a victim. No victor, no vanquished. There's a vacuum that makes people victims. So you have to now live your life with a synthetic victim. It's an inorganic victim. Because he can't say he's a victor, he didn't win, clearly. He can't say he's vanquished because that takes away his own ego. He has to be something. And so maybe our fathers did what they did to make Nigeria one in 1970, but this is 2025, it's been 55 years. Have you ever had 1 year in 55 years where the victim narrative has not been peddled? What are we doing? 55 years after the war, 65 years after independence, you still have to say, oh, sorry, oh, sorry, oh, sorry. Oh. You'll not be walking on eggshells around the person that should be saying sorry to you. And no, we don't need anybody sorry. Nobody should apologize for anybody. I'm not saying apologize to Nigerians. You don't have to. If you do, it's fine, but you don't have to. But don't ask me to do so. And if Sowore wants to apologize, he should do it in the name of himself and his family members. He can't do it for Nigeria. It's worse than what I'm saying, by the way. It's worse than what I'm saying. The things they discovered, the things Ojukwu did to his own people. A person decided that his people should not eat so that he can do content. You don't know how terrible this thing. I'm like this because I feel so sorry for the people. They've been lied to and they've bought it. People are saying that your people need food, medicine, and milk. And they are begging you, let your people have food, medicine, and milk. How can they beg you if you're really the leader of your